All right, welcome inside the High School Huddle. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, like us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you find us, Apple, Spotify, on all the podcasts. We bring in our special guest. He is the head coach of the Coweta Tigers, the top-ranked Coweta Tigers, Coach Gabe Ellis. So glad you can join us. And how's everything in Coweta, Oklahoma, Coach?
Guys, doing well. Appreciate you having us. Town of Coweta, appreciate you as well.
Well, Coach, we got a lot of questions to you in a short amount of time, but your son, Legend, first, a great football player.
Great football player.
It was fun to watch him this year on the football side. My hard-hitting question for you named him Legend, which is a lot of pressure for him to be a stud wrestler like he is and a stud football player like he is. So, did you have to convince Mama on that?
That's her idea.
Take us through the process on the name Legend.
Well, it literally was just out of nowhere. We were talking about names and couldn't come up with anything we liked. And about 3 days later, and this is no joke whatsoever, I'm watching TV and the advertisement for the movie I Am Legend comes on. and it said it like had these blocks that said like I, and then the next word was am, and then Legend just shot across the screen. And I asked her, what do you think about naming him Legend? In fairness, the hard part wasn't naming him as much as naming the second one, because I knew I couldn't name him.
A lot to live up to.
Wait. Is it a boy or a girl?
It's a boy.
So is his name Bob?
No, that's what I said. I couldn't name him Bob or Jim. So we had to think pretty hard. We named him Titan.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah,
you put the pressure on yourself for that one.
100%. But I always told Legend, even if you don't pan out, at least your name's Legend.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we always talk about, of course, we do a football show as well, and we always talk about, we'll hear some kid's name and go, wow, what a good name.
Great name.
It's a great name.
Yeah.
Legend's way up there at the top. It's really good.
His teammate Brock Hillman is a great name as well.
Yes, he is. Yep, they have a great name too. And weirdly enough, about those two specifically, they played football and wrestled together since they was in kindergarten. So been really fun being around him as well. But Brock's a special kid as well.
You know, Coach, talk about that just briefly. You know, I love those stories where kiddos grow up together. They do everything together. What tremendous lifetime memories. You know, I know that you had some kiddos move in this year, come into Coweta. What's that been like? You know, you got those kids that came up since kindergarten. You get a few kids come in, and power to you. I think that's awesome. They want to come be a part of your program. I think that's a compliment. Talk about that. How do you gel that together with the kiddos that's been there for 12 years?
I'm really grateful you asked that question, because it does seem that we just got people that moved in, want to be part, and they did fill some gaps, and they did take a few jobs, and there's been some stuff there. But
sure,
what nobody really knows, I haven't coached those 3 to 4 kids in high school, but nobody knows that I coached them through their whole elementary career when I was at Glenpool.
Okay.
And so every one of those kids, I've spent time with them and their families at the youth level. And so there was no bridge the gap. They were automatically in with the kids. They've known the kids forever.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Literally. I go through them: Sonny Hicks, Tommy Carney, Legend Ellis, Ty Thrasher, Avon Robbins, Mason Burnham. Kraft has been in 3-style forever. Brock Heilman. And then the Coweta kids that we adopted as 7th graders, when I go over with Riley Hicks and Aiden Jolly Gels and Braxton Plunk and Caleb Jones. All those cats have been together for a long time, even though they haven't been in necessarily Coweta singlets.
Yeah.
They have been together for a long time. Baylor Bart, who's my 165, he's Coweta born and bred. Him and Legend wrestled against each other when they were 6 years old. I mean, we've known those families forever. And I know that this is kind of cliche to say, I don't believe I would have let people just move in and take jobs of people without knowing them the way I did. I wouldn't have allowed that to happen to people that have put the time in.
Yeah.
And the transfer has been a weird thing. It's new, so anything new is, and it feels like it put coaches in a weird spot because, and not knowing the background of that, I'm glad you brought that up, but it really puts coaches in a weird spot because it sounds like, you're traveling to Alva and you're traveling to Miami and you're traveling down to Woodward to recruit kids, but that's not necessarily every coach that we've talked to on and off the record, that's not the case. And it's just different situations, and so I'm glad you explained it the way you did.
Yeah, absolutely.
I haven't seen a family yet flip a coin and say we're going to go there. It always seems like there's a backstory.
There's a connection.
There's a connection. They know the coaches. They know the quality. They want to put them in the right room. And you can't, Phil, you say it all the time. You can't blame the coaches you can't blame the parents for wanting to be in good programs around good people.
So I don't blame anybody in that. I think that I don't, because I think
within the rules.
It's the everything has rules. Life has rules. Sports has rules. There's nothing wrong with this, and I think wrestling is a sport that lends itself, to people wanting to be. And I'll say this, Coach, I appreciate your backstory, and I'm not saying they wouldn't have came if you guys weren't who you are. I think the clear-cut favorite in 5A, but I think that. You earn those things, right? Even if you didn't have the backstory, Coweta's got a great program.
Yeah.
And I don't fault a kid for wanting to go be a part of a good room.
Yeah.
I mean, as parents, what we're trying to do every day is to put our kids in the best situation for them and their future. And if that includes, I'm not just saying on the mat. If you got a good room, that usually means you have a great culture, and that usually starts with the guy at the top. And if they're doing all those things right, you want your kids to be mentored and coached by people that you align with. So I don't see it as a negative. I see it as a compliment to the schools that are getting the kids.
Coach, one more question before we kind of get to the mat. We kind of talked about this when the Glenpool basketball deal, kids move in, but there's kids that when they move in, there's kids that can't compete at their level. How do you handle that situation of kids that have been there and have gone through the same things over that other kids have? How do you approach that? There's different ways, but how do you approach that?
Yeah, it's they always say it's a good problem to have, but it's nevertheless it's a problem.
Right,
and that there's no doubt about that. And you feel for a kid that, lack of better terms, is in a position where he thought things were going to be one way, and it just turned out another. We are real fortunate at Coweta. I've got a great coaching staff, great elementary system, but we schedule 11 high school tournaments. So everybody wrestled 5 tournaments this year.
Wow.
That's
and
great.
We're working our tails off. I mean, we're going every weekend. But, like, for example, and I don't call them JV because they don't go to JV tournaments, but my second group has won the Okmulgee tournament. They won the Tulsa Hale tournament. They won the Tulsa Edison tournament. And that's my second group of kids. So they're getting to wrestle. And then we went down to the Grapevine Duels, and I put 2 teams in it. And we got 1st and 5th or 1st and 4th or something. And we come up with, and I've got a whole group going to Skytook this weekend. And like last weekend, like I said, we had one group at Hale and I had one group at Tuttle. We've just been real fortunate to find ways to get all these kids wrestling time.
That's awesome.
And we got some kids that aren't on the starting lineup, quote unquote, that can wrestle. And I'll just be real honest. The kids get it. The kids understand we're going to put the team that scores the most points in the state tournament together at regionals, whatever weight that means you're going at. Well, if that means you're wrestling heavy, or if you're going to cut a little bit, or whatever that means, or if you're a guy that wrestled all year and maybe you don't get to go to regionals just because the points aren't going to shake it, maybe the matchups aren't good. They have to understand those things. And I've got really good families that understand that as well, because the common goal here is for Coweta to be state champions.
Yeah.
And Coach, it's a very similar thing on the college level. There's studs at Oklahoma State University that don't get on that mat. There's studs at UCO that don't get on the mat at time. It's all about competition, and I'm sure there's some life lessons in there as well, Sean.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll add, Coach, is it's real easy for the coaches that aren't getting the transfers to have a negative feeling about it, but it's hard for a coach when a kid comes and enrolls into the school
Right.
legally and is sitting on the bench and he's the best kid you got. That makes no sense in the world at all. So,
Right.
it's and like I say, in your situation, it's like you had kids you've been with, for most of their life that now are able to come and wrestle with you. So I think that's a great thing for everyone. And One thing I was going to ask you, but before we started, but you mentioned your kids program, your three style. Talk about that group. I know we're on this side of the state, so we know a lot of the clubs around here that kind of feed the big programs on this side of the state. And in Tulsa, I hear about clubs, but I don't know those clubs. Talk about who is it that you're affiliated with as far as are there several clubs? Is it just the three style or?
No, it's interesting you ask, because the one thing when I came to Coweta, I made a full commitment. This is my 26th year in high school education, and I was at Fort Gibson for a long time, and our big goal then was to try to get to win a district title and get to dual state and those things, and that was fun. And when my boys got old enough to start wrestling, I didn't want to miss it, so I was a head football coach for a while. And then when they got to junior high age, I decided to take this Coweta job, and I'm blessed every day I walk in there. By the way, I'm so blessed to be there. But to answer that question, we have 150 youth in our Coweta youth program.
Wow.
So what we do, I have my bigger room, which is a 3-mat room, and in my other room that right next to it's a mat and a half. We run our novice from 5:30 to 6:35 in the big room, and our intermediate from the same time frame in the small room. And then at 6:45, we have our open in the big room, and I come back and do what we call elite. And this is nightly. This is 3 to 4 nights a week. And that's a lot of the high school and junior high kids coming back, and the really good youth ones. So like here in a second, I'll go to elite practice. And then on Sunday nights and Wednesday nights, we have our national club that we call Three Style Wrestling that works out of Coweta as well. And more kids from across the state. I mean, Eli Griffin trained out of there, Jordan Williams, Cam Steed, Cougar Anderson, Josh Taylor. Those in Legends been in Kraft and those guys, and Tommy and those guys, and Toby Shipman. They've been Three Style guys for years. So our room is literally open with our high school coaches visible 5 to 6 nights a week. And the reason for that, I just didn't see any way else for us to have a chance to win one, except be there all the time and be visible and be available.
Coach, all I'm sitting here thinking is I'd love to come watch your challenge matches with your twos. No, seriously, I guarantee you, there's
a great idea.
There's some of the best darn matches probably going on in your challenge matches.
Yeah, and I Coach, on that note, it's kind of strange that you said that. In 26 years, I've never had one ranking match, and I won't this year.
Yeah.
I put them in. I use this analogy. Now you guys will understand this. I've never put two tailbacks side by side and ran the 40, decided who was going to start at tailback.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to be a coach and just decide what's best.
Make
and
decisions.
Take the heat and make the heat if you're wrong. The reason, now I will tell you what, I put kids in the same tournament and they'll wrestle it out there.
Yeah.
I'm just not I don't think challenge matches are.
Yeah.
I think there's a place for some people. It's just not for me.
I'm dating myself. Everything, I'm an old man. I'm closer to, I tell Chris I'm almost 60, and he reminds me I just turned 59 in August, but I'm excited to get to 60. And back in the day, everything was about ranking matches or challenge matches,
right,
as our coach called it. I mean, it was every week. There were challenge matches, and so I think that. But listen, I love what you just said. Sometimes as a coach, you got to be a coach and make decisions. I love that.
Yeah.
And Coach, Sean's got some individual things he wants to get into you with some of your wrestlers, but I want to talk about your son, Legend. We talked about him a little bit before, but looked like he had a big announcement recently. Talk about his college commitment, and also how's the father-son, the coach wrestler deal at home and at school.
In fairness, and me and I'm also a football coach for life. I've been doing it forever, and I make a point. We don't talk about football at home, and we'll watch film and stuff and wrestling and talk about. We don't really talk about what he's doing right and wrong at home very often. And that's a true statement. And we do that because I do like. I do like to feel at some level we still are just father son at some point somewhere somehow, and that's kind of our time to do that. And because we are at the wrestling room an awful lot. And don't get me wrong, there's arguments, there's some philosophy flaws, and he's been around it a little bit now. I'm having to accept he's kind of becoming a man a little bit. maybe he's not always wrong, so there's some of that. But as far as the college thing, we went through a real exciting time starting June 15th for our family. Every family it's a little different, but it was real exciting for us because the number one goal since he was in the second grade was to get school paid for. And we openly say as a family, we wanted to go to a place where we thought he could grow spiritually. and we wanted him to go to a place we get school paid for. And those are the two things. And, CBU came calling, and they did a heck of a job. And, we took several of the visits. They did a heck of a job. And Legend and Case and Kraft thought that they could go really grow in their faith in the environment at CBU. That's what they was really attracted to. Then they hit their bombshell a couple weeks ago. So we're back, kind of lack of better terms, in the portal, and we've connected back with those coaches and having good conversations. And we know ultimately it's not going to be our decision. We know that God will help us do that. But it's going to be we're kind of back to the starting point on that a little bit. But thank goodness he's still a junior, so we got some time.
Yeah, you still got some time, and CBU's not across the it's not across the river either. It's a little distance away, so that'll be another.
Well,
thing.
That's what his mama keeps telling me.
Yeah. I've learned something. My baby's 28, Coach. And we always say that about the mamas, but those daddies cry too when those babies leave. It's not. It's a hard thing to watch them grow up. You're excited because our job's to get them ready to go out in the world. But boy, when they leave, woo!
Yeah.
It's a crutch.
Coach, I'm excited, not.
Yeah,
exactly. Coach, 5A is it's gonna be fun this year. It's you got 3A, 4A, 6A. You kind of look there, but 5A is a little more over the years that we've seen. Elgin has come up the rise. Chickasha, obviously, that you guys are there. Carl Albert has improved this year. Guthrie has been at dual state. This is a fun 5A season.
Yeah, this, in my opinion, started 4 to 5, 6 years ago. I thought 5A kind of had the tradition of having 4 or 5 really good teams and then 20 teams that really couldn't even fill weights. And that was just kind of the aura even when I was in 4A. It was like everybody kind of said, well, I could get more guys qualified in 5A. Well, there's some schools that hired some really good young coaches that are really getting after it and have put full teams together. And besides the ones you mentioned, the non-traditional schools are filling lineups now. Yeah. And that was the biggest first step for 5A, in my opinion. And the guys you mentioned, they're doing a heck of a job. Every one of those guys are doing a heck of a job. Elgin kind of came out of nowhere, but you could kind of see it coming. They had a good youth group for years. And Coach Randall at Chickasha, that bunch was good all through elementary. You could kind of see it coming. And Carl Albert, the guys they had move in for them and help them out this year. And they won it 3 years ago, I guess. And so great teams. And like you said, the Davenports do a great job at Guthrie. They're always hard nosed, and you're always going to have to wrestle and put a good lineup out there to beat them. So it's going to be really fun. I think they always say, a little bit of, working hard, but a little bit of luck will help you win that title. And I think whoever wins it's going to have a little bit of both.
Yep. Yeah. Coach, you talked about, you brought up your faith and just everything. That it's such an important factor, when you're talking about your son and all that. How has that helped you as far as a coach? Just staying grounded in your faith, and how is that helping? Not just your family, not just your coaching, but your team as well.
Well, if I'm just being completely transparent, which at 49 years old, that's the only way I know to be anymore. I haven't always been the biggest guy that you'd point to when you said, hey, that guy's full of faith. Having my kids grow up and watching the things that have really helped them, and watching, this community and this team has really pointed me in the right way. I'm around I got hired at Coweta. It was the weirdest thing. And I had 3 guys that either had been a pastor at some point that were assistants with me or a head coach with me. And the direction I just felt like I needed to go, Coweta in general had a lot to do with. And I'm just really fortunate both of my kids and my wife really live in that direction. And I'm really proud of them.
Coach, it's funny, we're all men of faith sitting here on the other side, but I've always said it's really funny how God works. He takes you to Coweta, puts 3 coaches in your life. If we all get out of the way, it'll find you.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. So, Coach, one of the questions I had to start, we've kind of ran around in circles, but I don't know much about your journey as far as wrestling, as far as coaching. How did that start? Are you a football guy that got into wrestling? Did you wrestle as a kid? How did you get? Because you're obviously, I don't know. Answer that question, then I got some follow-ups that go with that.
Well, Coach, it's just really strange you ask, because early on, I remember I had an athletic director one time and said, Coach, I'm really trying to figure out what you are. And the reason he asked that, guys, my first job, I had I was a 3 to 4, 5 sport athlete growing up. We come kind of a poor family, and my mom just made sure we was always in something. So I was, I ran track. I played baseball as a young kid, but then I played a lot of soccer. I wrestled a lot, played football, and I did that stuff all through my young adulthood. Then I got into education. And in 1999, I got hired to be the head girls soccer coach at Fort Gibson, and they put me on football staff. And my only experience at football at the time was just playing it. And so I took over the youth Little League program at the time as well, at Fort Gibson. Well, we go through some good stuff, and then I got a chance to go work with Ron Lancaster at Salisaw for a year and coach football. And in both those years, by the way, we went to the state finals in football. So I kind of thought I wanted to be a football guy, but keep remembering that soccer is what got me hired. And I loved wrestling. We made a lot of strides that one year in elementary wrestling at Fort Gibson. And then Fort Gibson called me and offered me the head wrestling job, boys and girls soccer, and eventually offensive coordinator at Fort Gibson. I did that for the next 10 years. And just grinding and learning, and through that process, towards the end of that time, when I had my first kid and got married, and then I went on to be a head. I got my master's during that time, so I go to Mounds, Oklahoma, take the head football job. Like I said, when Legend started wrestling, because I wanted to watch him, so take the head football job, athletic director. Ended up being their middle school principal for 5 years, and then like I said, I lived in Glenpool the whole time and did their youth wrestling program. Okay. And that's when, and I had a young coach at the time. Drew Willingham was his name. He was in control of that youth program, and asked me to help him when Legend started. And we became really successful there. And like I said, Coweta opened the doors, and I've been blessed ever since.
Boy, your wife's a patient woman.
She's a good one. She's a good one.
Let me tell you. Head boys soccer, head girls soccer, head wrestling, and offensive coordinator. She saw you a combined 2 weekends that entire school year.
Well, she was smart enough for me to get about 12 of those out of the way before she married me. So.
Okay.
I feel complete on the huddle because we got the Mounds Golden Eagles mentioned on.
That's
on
right.
Show,
That's
so
right.
pretty darn
That's
cool.
Yeah.
I feel like in the summertime, your wife just grabs a hold and doesn't let go.
Well, what's funny y'all say that, because I just had this conversation with somebody. This is a true story. I always tell people, I said, at one time I could coach a little bit. I mean, I was a pretty good coach. People knew me as Coach Ellis. And then Legend started doing well, and then I was known as Legend's dad.
Yeah, you're Legend's dad. That's right.
Then my boy Titan does pretty well. I'm known as Titan's dad. Now my wife's career's rolling pretty good. Now I'm known as Tiffany's husband. I said at some point I'm going to figure out if I got an identity left when this is all over.
We got the wrong Ellis.
Yeah, we got
The higher you go up, the further you go down.
That's all. There's no question.
Now, how old's Titan?
Titan's an 8th grader.
Okay.
Really good baseball player
next year.
Yeah, he's a really good baseball player. He's also a quarterback, and he's done really well on our wrestling team. He's not a year-long wrestler, but he's a year-round baseball player, and he loves football. But he'll always wrestle. Is a student of it, loves it. I hope we get him in the finals a couple times in high school. But he's probably going a little different path. But he's a good boy. He's a good boy and done really good things as well.
Well, if he's got a big brother like he does, what I know from personal experience is those younger brothers are tough as nails.
Yeah, he's pretty tough.
Yeah.
So you've just when it goes back to just your coaching, your wrestling team. Do you think that coaching the soccer and coaching the football and just all the experience you've had in those other sports, is that experience meshed together with the program you've put together there? Because it sounds similar to a lot of the programs I've seen, but it sounds a lot different as well. Obviously, the recipe's working, but I'm interested. Just is it all of the other things? Is it the coaching in general and then it's specific to wrestling, or do you run everything like every other club?
No, I would say one thing that I think that I was able to implement, guys, when I say me.
Yeah.
Everything I've done has been stolen, like every other coach, whether they tell you that or not, they're lying. They're lying if they say they're not. But for me, every place I've been was based on getting numbers first. It was getting kids out. And when that got accomplished, then it was creating practices for mass amounts of kids. And so for me right now in wrestling, for example, our practice, our everyday drills, for example, every practice looks the same. And the reason that, and I'm not saying we don't stop and say, hey, let's work on something that didn't go well this weekend, but we feel like our everyday drills cover every position in a wrestling match, if that makes any sense to you at all.
Yeah,
so like we feel our everyday drills goes over every position you could be in a wrestling match. And if we find something new, we find a new drill. And my point is, we do that kindergarten through 12th.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing the same drills. And like I said, I have great youth coaches. John Howard and Patrick Sampson are kind of the lead guys there. And they implement these drills, and they set the coaches in those different developmental areas where they need, but they're all teaching the same stuff. And then when they get to the junior and high school staff, which is John Cockrell, Zaylin Edwards, and Sam Dawes, we just continue at a faster pace. So my biggest thing that did come from all those other sports that I'll take with me, whatever sport I go, is teaching kids how to practice. Yeah. And, and having a goal with your practice. And I know that sounds cliche and every coach probably thinks that way, but it's been real successful for us to concentrate and get really good at what we do.
Coach, how many kids in your high school room? How many total kiddos you have out?
9 through 12, 65, 70. Okay. 7th and 8th, we have 85.
Wow.
And then, and like I said, in the youth, we have about 150 registered youth. And then 3-style will bring in another 30 from other places. Yeah.
And will that 3-style, do you run the practice for 3-style? Other guys come in and you kind of just sit back and let them do?
The best 2 coaches in the country do it, Johnny and Tony Cook.
Yeah.
And they, they're old Perry guys, but, Johnny and Tony went to Locust Grove when they were nothing and ran off. I think Johnny has 4 state titles from there. And, very few people really realize how good Tony Cook was as a wrestler. It's been so long ago, but he might have been one of the best wrestlers to ever come out of Oklahoma. Those guys are phenomenal. I tell people about Johnny specifically. I've been in education a long time, and I've seen great math teachers, principals, whatever you're talking about, but I've never met a better teacher of things than Johnny Cook.
Oh, wow.
And that's about the biggest compliment that I could give him, but it is sincere. I've never seen anybody teach better than him. Now, he demands a high standard, and there's some people that don't think, 3-style's for them, but if you'll just let it soak in a little bit, like I gave you the names of the kids that have come through there, and been very successful. And so, no, I'm there, I'm around, but those 2 guys coach 3-style.
Speaking with Coweta Tiger head wrestling coach Gabe Ellis. Coach, we've gone over a few of your wrestlers, but if you can maybe hit on some others that will be making some noise here.
Oh, yeah, and you guys have to bear with me. This list is going to be long, so I don't want to leave anybody out because of what we talked about earlier. There's some
you got 2 teams.
Yeah.
You need to get a double stipend. Yeah. Talk to your superintendent about that.
Yeah, that's what those 4 assistants. I say, well, you're going to the same tournaments, and they say, yeah, coach, we're working twice as hard when we get there. There's only 2 of us,
right.
Managing the team every time we go. But no, we got, we talked about Burnham came in. He came to us from Catoosa, but like I said, he wrestled for me years ago. He's a 2-time state champion right now, and he'll be at 6 or 13. And right with him is an incoming freshman that was a junior high state champion 2 years ago, was a state runner-up last year in Braxton Plunk. He'll be at 6 or 13 as well, probably. Like I said, there's still some lineup stuff we're ironing out. We have a returning state medalist right there, Sonny Hicks, that's been at 13 for us this year. He just won the Tuttle tournament. Then you get into 120, and you got Casey Kraft, who's a 2-time state champion, Fargo All-American, All-American and Ironman this year. Then you got Aiden Jollygel, who state champion last year, was a Fargo All-American, multiple-time national placer at different events. There's a kid named Logan Kerr that people don't see or hear of a lot. It was actually a state qualifier for us last year that's in there somewhere. State qualifier Caleb Jones at 132. State qualifier Logan Hargrove. He's a 3-time qualifier, came to us from Catoosa, same story as Burnham. Then the guy that kind of got it all started for us is our 144 right now, Toby Shipman. He's a 2-time champ, 1-time finalist. He won preseason nationals, and he just signed a full for Missouri Valley. We're really excited for him and his mom, and real proud of them for their journey.
Coach, is that your first state champ, Toby?
That, believe it or not, at 26 years, that was my first state champion.
That's awesome.
I had like 6 of them 6 runner-ups at Fort Gibson. And then I had
Toby's got to be a
3.
special one for you then.
It's unbelievable. And, I tell you what, talk about the faith stuff. When you got a leader like Toby Shipman, he has literal Bible studies on Mondays where they meet like at Roy's Chicken, and
That's
whoever
awesome.
will come, he leads it. He is an unbelievable human being.
That is
And,
great.
he's the best leader we can have. And then you get to 150, and we have Tommy Carney. He's a 2-time placer for us. He's traveled the world with me, placed at several national events. 157, we have a legend. Talked about him. He's done well for us, and we got him for 2 more years, and he's a pretty good leader for us. And then at 65, we have Baylor Bart, he's going to be a 3-time qualifier this year. He hasn't placed yet, but we think he'll get over the hump. Then we had another guy transfer in at 75 named Ty Thrasher. And he came from Lincoln, but once again wrestled for me at Glenpool years ago. He's been a 3-time placer. He's actually had 150 wins in high school.
Jeez,
So,
crazy.
yeah, so we were real excited about seeing him. Then you have Brock Heilman at the 190, and then a kid named Avon Robbins came in and played some linebacker for us, and he was a 3-time placer at Catoosa. And same story as the other 2. And then the biggest story I've got of the year that people won't know about, I had a kid that couldn't make the lineup as a freshman or sophomore. Last year, he got in the lineup at 65 when I had another kid get hurt. And then I asked him to go to 190 when the kid came back just to see if he could qualify. He qualified, had a pretty good year. He exploded over the summer, got to about 205 pounds, and he's now, I wrestled him at 90 a little bit. He now has won 3 tournaments at heavyweight. His name is Riley Hicks, and he is built like a 190-pounder. And he's long muscled, learning how to wrestle the heavyweight style, and has been real successful for us. And the thing about that was we had 2 really good heavyweights that were already there with Hunter Revis and Lane Runnels, and they're just struggling being in the, he's just kind of beat them. He beat them in a tournament, and so he's the guy right now. But if anything happened, those guys are really good as well.
Wow. I did real quick. This is a real important question or statement.
What's your favorite ice cream?
No, that's coming later.
Oh, that's coming later. Okay.
Yeah, get ready.
Steal my
get
thunder.
ready.
I appreciate it.
I've got a new one, by the way.
Oh, you got a new question. Okay.
No, I got a new ice cream.
Oh, you got a new
One
ice
of the
cream.
greatest wrestling names ever, Thrasher.
Thrasher's
Ty
a good
Thrasher.
one. You missed
Yep.
on that one, Coach.
That's a great
Yeah,
name.
I know it. I
You
messed
could have
up.
middle name, Legend
that-
Thrasher.
Ooh.
That could have been Titan's name, I guess. And we got Coach guys. What we do have is things people don't realize. We got 3 or 4 freshmen that would start on a lot of people. We got a kid
Yeah.
named Jericho Burkhart that won our high school tournament at Coweta, and he's a freshman. He won our high school tournament. I mean, we got a kid named Barry Ritter, same deal. He's just behind Kraft and Gavin Light, and we've got some good guys coming as well. We feel like we can be tough for a little bit.
That's
Well,
awesome.
Coach, I was going just through your stats. I showed Phil when I came in today, but you got 7 kids ranked number 1 in the state right now, 12 ranked in the top 4. That means projected to have 12 state placers. All 14 of your wrestlers are ranked in the top 6.
Yeah, that's
Tell me that's not a favorite to win the state title this year. That's crazy.
It is here on the High School Huddle. I can tell you that.
And I believe that Case and Kraft is number 14 in the nation right now.
Yeah, I think he's 14th in the nation. 2028 class, Aiden Jollygel was in the top 100, and I think on Flow, Legend was setting 78 at 157, and I think in Win Magazine he was as low as 10 at times. I mean, we've had some kids in and out of that stuff, and weirdly enough, guys, and when I say this, I say it in the humblest way possible, and I mean that. I've never won a state title, so you're not going to get me to say anything about we're going to win it. But I will tell you this. Last week, we went to the Cheesehead. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that tournament. It's a nationally ranked tournament. It's probably a top 5 tough tournament. And we beat 10 teams that either had been ranked or still were. We beat Liberty, Missouri, for example. We actually broke the honorable mention for the national rankings last weekend.
Wow.
So
Good for you.
for Coweta, that's a big thing. There's some schools that are in it every year, but we're not. We're real excited about that.
Well, you got to get there the first time before you can get there every time, right, Coach?
That's right. 100%.
Coach,
100%.
how many years have you been in Coweta? Is this your 5th season?
This is my 6th season.
6th. This is incredible.
It really is.
Incredible growth in a short amount of
It
time.
really is.
Well, Coach, I know you got a busy schedule after us as well. We appreciate you coming on. I know the Coweta Tigers. I'm building up to it here, Phil.
Sean's question.
But we have two. I think we have two hard hitting questions left for you, and then we'll dismiss you. So
Are you?
bear with us, Coach?
You got to ask yours. We already know what Phil's is.
No, that's not. You don't know. I could have changed.
Okay, I will go with the one that I asked all the coaches. If Coach Ellis was in charge of the high school wrestling season here in Oklahoma, what's one rule that you would change, modify, or delete, or add?
I wasn't a big fan of 3-point takedown.
I have a new best friend.
And I'll tell you why. The 3-point takedown was put into college because it was put there to offset riding time.
Right.
So the 3-point takedown for me personally does not make sense without riding time. Now that's just a personal philosophy.
Amen.
A lot of people love it, and I've learned to deal with it. Like everybody else. But we spend a lot more time on our feet in practice. I promise you that because of it.
Yeah.
I've already had my rant, so I'll just leave it.
Well, it's amazing how quickly 7-1 matches are nowadays.
Yeah, it's quick. But the comebacks are. We saw some
Comebacks
good
are epic. Yeah.
Comebacks,
Yeah.
Yes.
This past weekend.
Chris asked you. Go ahead, Sean.
Oh, so I'll ask the same question I always ask. What is the best thing about wrestling? You've coached soccer, you've coached football, just specifically to wrestling. What is the best thing that you see about the sport of wrestling?
Coach, I think I'm going to tell you the same thing every wrestling coach that really lives it kind of the way I feel I do will answer with. There is nothing in the world that prepares you for life better than wrestling. And perfect example is what some of my kids are going to have to go through this year. They might have been a state placer or a qualifier or thought there was a freshman coming up and going to start, and they may get some bad news saying they're not going to regionals. And if that's the worst thing that ever happens in their life, they're going to have a great life.
Yeah.
And so my point is they won't understand that right away, but wrestling puts them in a position to have to learn that. And wrestling puts you in a position to cut some weight, maybe to go out there and get your butt kicked. It puts you, it's not fair. That's the bottom line. There's nothing about wrestling that's fair. Everybody says it's the fairest thing in the world because you're out there against somebody. There's a lot of unfair parts about wrestling. And I think it prepares you in every aspect for life. I really do. And that's my favorite thing about it.
Great answer.
That's awesome. Hey, Coach, I'm the only one that asks hard-hitting questions around here. All right. What's your favorite ice cream, Coach?
No doubt, original strawberry with actual strawberries in it.
Ooh, I like it.
I
like it.
Yeah,
I always feel like getting cheated if I don't get the strawberries. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
I
watching
like it.
them get the
I agree
scoop.
100%.
Watching them get the scoop, and you're like, well, there's a big one. Go back. Okay, they went back. Okay, good.
That's awesome. I like it. That's a good traditional answer. I like that.
That is awesome. Coach, man, I don't think we're going to be able to cross paths in the regular season, but hopefully get to see you over at Tulsa and at the OG&E Coliseum as well and shake your hand. Man,
we're going to be there and they're going to be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too, so
Absolutely.
We'll get to come shake your hand.
Yeah.
Sure. Guys,
Coach,
I appreciate you so much. You don't know what this does for our program and our community, and we're so thankful you had us on. And anything you guys ever need from me, let me know.
Absolutely.
Keep doing what you're doing. It's
You're
been a lot
doing
of
it the
fun.
right way, Coach. We're proud of you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Gabe Ellis of the Coweta Tigers. Coweta going for their first state championship on the dual side since 2016. And a couple weeks after that, going for their first state championship on the team side of things since 1993. And, guys, they definitely have the roster to accomplish both of those goals this year.